Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of
The Result Show.
The Result Show. I noticed actually when I was editing that I had a visual tick, so with the last few episodes of The Result Show, every single one is welcome to this very special episode of The Result Show. So, I mean, they are all special, but I'm going to try to pitch it correctly. Having said that, this is quite a special episode of The Result Show, especially for us because we're talking about something that we really, really like.
Cameras. So, this one here was my 21st birthday present.
For those of you who are listening,
from my mum and dad.
For those of you who are listening, this is a Canon A1.
A1.
So,
which was the kind of like the professional camera that Canon produced in the early 80s.
yes, I remember watching like when you like read the old National Geographics and they've got all these kind of like beautiful kind of retro themed adverts for it, but they're all out in the savannah.
I think the Pro one was the F1.
Yeah,
and this was the kind of like
prosumer.
Prosumer,
I think they call it.
Yeah. And it was my dream camera, and I remember it was £250 in 1984.
Which these days, because I actually did something recently. By the way, for the you guys watching, we are going to get onto NLP in a second, so bear with us. I actually remember I was looking something up, and it's like I think it's about 4 times the value of money in 1984 to what it is now. So that's basically at least £1,000's worth.
Yeah, about £1,000. Yeah, that would. And we just got some film. They've started making film again.
Yes.
So the photography version of vinyl,
it's coming back.
Is back. But then how do things move on? Well, this one.
This is you. Again, for those of you listening, as opposed to watching us, this is the monster Nikon P1000.
Yeah, this is just 3,000mm zoom.
Yeah, for those of you who can see it, I think you'll probably appreciate the size. For those of you who are only listening to this, imagine something that looks like it belongs under a dome on top of Hawaii.
Yep. Which I do use it to take photographs of the moon.
What I might do is dig one of those out and then pop it on top of the video.
I haven't taken one recently. There was that eclipse, wasn't there, last week, but it was cloudy here, so I couldn't get it. But the interesting analogy here,
there is a reason
with NLP is one of the things within NLP. Is called submodalities, which we learn to be able to change, which really puts you in control of the pictures, the sounds, and the feelings that you have in your own mind. Because, we're talking about, quite often I go to a group of people and say, okay, everybody get a picture in your mind of a Jaguar car.
Yeah.
As an example. So I think everybody could do that. And obviously the content of that picture is the same for everybody in the room. It's a Jaguar car. But the submodalities, the qualities of that picture, the size of the picture, where it's located, how far away it is, whether it's a movie or a still, whether it's 3D or flat, whether it's color or black and white, changes what it means to us on an individual basis. So some people might go, I would never have a car like that.
Yeah.
Other people might go, that's my dream car. Other people might go, that is my car. Other people might go, if the reliability of Jaguars stays the same, I need 3 of those. 1 to drive, 2 to be in the garage. But the content of the picture is the same. It's those submodalities, the qualities of the picture, that change what it means to us on an individual level and changes also how we feel about the pictures.
And I think the lovely thing, again, because going back in terms of like the NLP, because I remember, you were probably exactly the same. When you first pick up a camera, especially when you're a kid, because I had do you remember like the ones where there was like a leather, had like a little leather cup that you used to unclick, and then you look at it as a kid, and you've got all these. I'll just hold it up there to the camera so you can kind of see what we're talking about. You've got all these numbers and dials and settings and all the rest of it, and you're like, And then, of course, you then get these cameras which come along, and they have this wonderful thing, which is normally like a camera with a smiley face or an exclamation mark next to it, which is called full auto.
Yeah, absolutely. On this one, it's like that.
Yeah.
The little green thing.
Little green camera that
takes over everything. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Point and shoot.
Which is great, except that it means that when that is on, when you basically point the camera at something, you only have, you could basically take 10 photos, they're all going to be the same, and you have no control over what that photo looks like.
Yeah.
When you then start to play with the camera, you start to understand a little bit about how this stuff, you then turn it to that magical letter M, which is for manual, and that then basically means that with the same camera, with the same lens, standing in the same spot, you can get completely different images, and you've got control over it.
Yeah.
So for me, NLP and actually understanding how the modalities work, and also being aware of them and having the power to change them, is exactly the same as going from full auto, which is like, yes, it works, but you're never going to have any control, to going, actually, I can make this do exactly what I want, and it's going to look superb.
So it's like putting your brain on manual.
Yes.
In a way. And, we can play around with this a little bit. This is what I do with groups when I'm teaching submodalities, just to give them an experience of this, is I say, think of somebody that you really like. Then when you think about how much you like them, do you have a picture? Then notice where that picture is located in your visual field, up, down, left, right, etc. Then think of somebody that you really dislike. And when you think about how much you dislike that person, do you have a picture? And notice where that picture's located. And, if I've got like 100 people in the room, 200 people in the room, I then go for how many people are those two pictures in different locations, pretty much everybody puts their hand up. And I go, okay, let's play. Take the picture of the person that you dislike and then move it to the location of the person that you like. Then I say to the group, how many people managed to move it? And it's probably around about 10% of the people put their hands up, say that they managed to move it.
Yeah.
90% say that they couldn't move it, or it was like it was on an elastic band and it went like...
It's like you try to copy something over to a non-allowed place and it just snaps back.
And, it's basically because it's not okay with that person's mind, with their brain, to like that person. And they know that changing the location of it would do that. It's not just pictures, because then, we can do it with sounds. One of the things I say is, like, how many people here have got a voice that they use when they're giving themselves a hard time?
Yeah.
And, pretty much everybody puts their hand
Sergeant Major voice.
And then I say, okay, notice where that voice is located. Then I say, it could be somebody it could be makeup in your mind. Get a voice which is really sexy, really seductive, a voice that when you hear it, you just melt. And notice where that's located. How many people are located in different places? If you're actually playing along with this on the podcast, my guess is I'll get the same response as I do when I've got hundreds of people in the room. How many are they located in different places? Pretty much everybody put their hands up.
Yeah.
Then I go, okay, just for fun, take the voice, which is the voice you give yourself a hard time with, and move it to the location of the sexy, seductive voice. Does that change the impact? And everybody puts their hand up.
You are such an idiot. Oh, yes.
We can do it with feelings. If you had a headache and you moved your headache to your little toe on your right foot, it would have a totally different meaning than it being in your head.
Yes.
And this is really what we can learn to do with submodalities in NLP, which is, like you say, puts your brain in manual.
Yeah.
If you've got pictures, sounds, feelings inside that aren't working for you, you're in control. Put your brain in manual and move them around.
And I think the other thing about it as well is that because when you start to learn what all these arcane numbers and symbols and all the bits and pieces mean, the best way to do it is just go out and take a load of photos. And it's exactly the same thing here. It's like the more that you then do this, the more that you then myelinate the pathways, in terms of from a scientific point of view, which then basically means that the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I mean, I take my camera out and I will literally photograph anything and everybody, not because I want those photos, but because I want to be able to do is when I see something that I actually want to shoot, my hands just go snap.
Right.
So it's built in, it's innate, it's part of you, unconscious competence.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really what the whole thing about submodalities and NLP is. Richard Bandler, first book that was published that talked about submodalities was Richard Bandler's book, Using Your Brain for a Change. And his question was, who's driving the bus? You'd say, are you sitting on the back seat with nobody driving the bus, or are you in the driver's seat driving the bus? And learning about submodalities makes you the driver of your bus. You can make your brain go where you want it to go.
Yeah. One of the other things I think we're going to talk about as well was, and this is, so a lot of that is kind of like almost like the back of the camera, looking at, especially with this thing as well, focus. Because what you've got here is basically something that could either shoot, from here, I can shoot basically this entire room.
Yep.
Or you see the caravan on top of the hill? You could probably look inside the window of that caravan.
You would be able to with that.
Just for you guys, I mean, that caravan is probably, about a mile away, something like that?
Yeah, it might be 2 miles.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a long way away.
But the thing about it is that our brains and our minds are actually very, very similar to that, because you'll get a lot of folks who are so up front, so close to their own coalface, and you'll see them, they're constantly micro-focusing on things. And also in terms of what they're focusing on. So not only are they doing it at a very, very small level, what they're focusing on, it might be good, it might be bad, but a lot of people tend to focus on the same things or see the same sorts of things within their environment in terms of, the reticular activation system.
Yeah.
And again, by understanding how the brain works, you can then instruct your reticular activation system in terms of what it should actually be focusing on. Just the same way as with one of these things, if you're trying to shoot that caravan and there's a tree in the way, it'll focus on the tree. So you have to switch it into manual and say, no, forget the tree. Go beyond, and that's what I want you to focus on.
I mean, I think the big thing here for me is the fact that your nervous system is designed to create in your experience what you're focusing on.
Yes.
And again, I ask quite often people in an audience whether people have done an advanced driving course where they did a skid pan, which not very many people have actually done that. But with a skid pan, what you do, the driving instructor pushes a button, you're on this area which they're spraying water on and all this kind of stuff, and puts the car into a skid. Technically, at this point in time, the car's out of control.
Yeah.
But strangely, it will skid to what the driver is focusing on. So if there's a tree there and you go, I don't want to hit the tree, the car, out of control's car, skids towards the tree. So what the driving instructor does is retrain the driver to only focus on where they want to go.
Right.
i.e. between two trees. This out of control car now skids between the two trees. And our nervous system's doing that all of the time. I've got a client who's a helicopter pilot, and he said that they're taught the same thing when they learn to fly helicopters, because a helicopter is permanently unstable.
Yeah.
So, he flies people over London on scenic tours or whatever. He says, I'm the only person that can't actually look around the sights of London, because he said, if I'm looking at a building, the helicopter will go into the building.
Yes.
So he says, I have to focus between two buildings to be able to take people on a safe helicopter sightseeing tour.
Yeah, I remember when I was, because when I did my helicopter training, it's because when you learn to fly a plane, you can trim it and then you can literally take your hands off.
Yep.
But with the best analogy I've got with the helicopters, when you've got a broom, it's up there and you're kind of like doing that. That's as close as you get, because it's micro control. But as you say, there's something that you want and you basically set that as a target, and then you start to move towards it. And I guess this goes back to the power of goals.
Yep.
In terms of, because you've got the reticular activation system, because you can say, right, this is what I want to focus on. One of the best ways of activating it is to say, if you've got a goal, then we want to be able to picture it clearly.
Yep.
So we can know what it looks like, what it's done look like, and then keep on refreshing that picture. So a lot of people who've achieved stuff, one of the common themes you'll see, regardless of whether it's, an athletic event or some sort of business challenge or whatever it is, one of the key things that you always see is, like, every day I got up and, kind of like said, right, this is what I want to do. And because you're, again, training your brain, you're saying to the autofocus system, this is what I'm looking for, then all of the opportunities which exist in the world around us start to become visible to us.
Yeah, that's why I call the reticular activating system goal radar.
Yeah.
In that when you set a goal and you set it, as you quite rightly say, very clearly, very specifically, but also with, emotion, like, something that really motivates you, something that really excites you, your reticular activating system, goal radar, goes searching through these 12 million bits of information per second, going, it's over there.
Yes.
And you hadn't noticed it before, but as soon as you set the goal, your goal radar gets going and goes like, right, I can find that for you.
Yeah, because historically the reticular activation system was designed to allow you to ignore the 40 trees and see the one saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you think we've done enough on that?
I think we have. Yeah, it's a good start. We've got some more.
We do, especially in terms of focus when we are looking at presenting.
Yeah.
So we will segue neatly into that. So what we're going to do over the next few episodes is we're going to start to have a little bit more of a look, because at the moment we've been focusing for all these episodes in terms of, kind of what you can do in the room, what it can do for you. One of the things that we always get asked is, especially for the coaches, consultants, trainers, kind of the, either one man or lady or small business out there, is how do we start to get more people into the room? And so what we're going to start to do over the next few episodes is start to look at how we can start to use NLP, not just on ourselves and the people that we love, but also translate that into our whole customer journey in terms of our, basically how we get more business, how we get more people in that we can then help. And so that is why the next episode is called Suck, Squeeze, Bang, Blow.
Right.
So if you're curious, there's a really good reason why it's called that. Want to find out what it is?
He came up with that title, not me.
I did. Yes, it's my bad, but he agreed. It's your show, boss. So if you want to know why it's called Suck, Squeeze, Bang, Blow, and let's face it, deep down you really do, join us next time on
The Results Show.
And if you have any questions or comments, then please email us at
You
see, I switched it over there because I normally go podcast at The Results Show. I just thought I'd flip it around.
Podcast at theresultsshow.com.
graceful dismount. As always, we will see you next time.